Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Justin Masterson Show. I am your host, Justin Masterson. We are playing the music loud this morning or afternoon or whatever time it is when you're watching this. But of course, it's not just me hanging out here. We got my good friend and pal, Mr. Matthew Zappasodi.
What's up, party people? Welcome to the show.
Yeah. Little KEVI for you, just to make it nice and cool for everybody. If you're wondering, we're here hanging out somewhere, pressing buttons. But it's also not just us hanging out.
Yep.
We got somebody else hanging out with us. The illustrious, the wonderful, the great. I spent a bunch of time with him back in the day. It is good old Rick Woolf, Coach Rick Woolf, the coachster. He was my high school coach. He was inducted to the Beaver Creek Hall of Fame, High School Hall of Fame in 2017. We're both in there. He was history, social studies teacher, 35 years, celebrating next year 50 years of marriage to the wonderful Jenny Woolf. And we are just so happy to have you on the show. Welcome, Coach.
Right back at you, Matt. And Matt.
Welcome.
Oh, it's good to have you on the show. Thanks for being here. Before we get too far into it, you were my high school baseball coach, and you were there well before me, and you stayed, after me. But you are, coach, friend, family, known each other for a long time. Appreciate it. And you'll hear as he's talking at times, he will call me Bat because I was Bat Masterson, which, there's plenty of stories behind that. Old cowboy, sports writer back in the day. There's actually a TV show that was also Bat Masterson, which reminds me there was a random time where we had that one umpire who used to say, that's a ball. Batter's got a small knee, like if it was below the knee or above the knee. Very animated, very good. But at one point in time, he invited me to his car, which I was a little scared of. But I went to it, and it looked like he lived out of his car because I think umpiring was his life and everything. Yeah. And then he wanted to have me listen to, I think it was the Bat Masterson theme song. And so that's what he was super excited about.
Was that Brian,
yeah.
the little short guy
Yep.
who chased the foul balls?
That's it.
Oh, my God. He's still umpiring.
Oh, man.
He's still umpiring.
That's incredible. Well, before we get... no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
I think I broke his heart near the end of my career, which was 2009. As you well know, foul balls, he'd run back and get them, where both teams would basically, the on-deck hitter or the man in the hole would get the foul balls or pass balls, with nobody on base. And
right
at the beginning of the game, I don't even remember who was throwing, maybe Hochschild, who, by the way, also ended up in the big leagues.
That's right.
A little plug for Mikey Boy. But before the game started, I said, Brian, we're standing here in the dirt. I says, I don't want to see you leave this dirt at all. Which, I had told Coach Blumenshine what I was going to do. And he says, Coach, I don't know. I said, well, at least I'm bigger than he is. And I can stand over the top of him when I tell him that. But he stayed in the dirt all game long.
Oh, man.
And I think I crushed his. He didn't speak to me for probably 2 months after that.
Yeah,
he didn't.
I can see
he's
that.
Still umping and so on and so forth. Brian Urquhart, as they call him, Mr. U, and a highly respected umpire. Always called a great game, but at the same time, he probably added, I'm not being silly if I'd say 15 or 20 minutes to a game chasing foul balls. And, got to the point near the end. Boy, I hated cold games.
Me too.
And he was there.
Well,
he didn't matter. Maybe that's why he did it. It kept himself warm. But anyhow, go ahead, my bad. I won't interrupt again.
No, you're doing great. You the old
Until the
block co
next time.
I mean, exactly. You got stories for days. I mean, you come from the Harvard of the South, Morehead State University, so,
You bet.
we can't forget that. But I do, you know, unfortunately, but also, as we've talked, it's a little bit of a blessing, in the midst of it. Your brother-in-law, passed away a couple weeks ago, when this is airing. And I don't know, I just wanted to give a time, maybe we just honor him a little bit if you wanted to talk about him for a second or two and just kinda let the people know how incredible he was, and his life was.
Did here's a silly question. Did we already talk about him and this podcasting thing is goofing me, or you think it's my twin brother in here talking?
No, no, we haven't recorded it yet, coach. See, if you didn't know, the old ball coach is not the most tech savvy. So we were having a conversation before. So pretty much all those wonderful things you said when we were hanging out
You
a
wasted
little
them.
bit before
Okay.
this,
Wasted.
I didn't record then, and I should have been recording.
Oh, I
So
knew that. I was just seeing if you did.
Exactly.
so
You got to keep Justin on his toes here. He thinks he's the big boss running the show.
hey, but hey, your twin brother could be in here. You know, we could talk about who's the best golfer between you two and just have a good old fight. But
I'd prefer not to talk about golf.
but your brother-in-law, he was what,
Yeah.
61 years old when he passed.
61 years old, Down syndrome, also had dementia. 61, as we had mentioned during our other conversation, 61 is considered quite old for Down syndrome person.
Yeah.
And here, 4 or 5 months ago, diagnosed with dementia, and which really sort of sped up the process to the end. He has grandma is still there, as we call her Gigi for great grandma, 95 years old, still in great shape. She and Jerry, they're in Hamilton, Ohio, and here maybe 4 or 5 years ago, shortly after grandpa passed of Alzheimer's, they moved to a assisted living place. Big, beauty. It's almost like the Taj Mahal of places. They were outside in their townhouse / condo, whatever. The idea is when the time would come, they would go inside to, in Jerry's case, he went inside to the memory care unit.
Okay.
And hospice was eventually called in, and he's certainly in a better place now, and he's been one of my best buds for a whole bunch of years.
Yes, and you already told the story to us, but you know, you said he liked to have a picture of everybody, and
Yes.
and when you acted up, what would he do?
He would take your picture out of the wallet and put it face down on the table. And the first time he did that to me, this would have been, we were still in college. I would have been 20. Jerry was 10. And so I think at the time, Jenny's parents lived up in Westerville, north of Columbus. Don't let the Westerville part trick you. It was north. It's not Northernville. It was Westerville.
West of something.
But so during the summers, I would go up to Westerville every weekend. And but anyhow, at some point there early on, when I was dating Jenny, Jerry, I don't even remember what I did.
You did something bad.
He pulled the wallet out, something bad for sure. And he pulled my wallet, his wallet out, took my picture out, put it face down, and I was crushed. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what can I do to get back in Jerry's good graces? And whatever I did at work, because here we are close to 50 years later, and his funeral is going to be this coming Monday down in Hamilton at 10 in the morning, and the whole family, all 35 of us, are coming in from Indianapolis and Cincinnati and Washington, D.C., and I'm sure I'm forgetting other places, but there will be a nice little funeral mass, and then we'll go back out to the the Taj Mahal of nursing homes, and have a real nice feed. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be some tears, but there will be some good laughs and chuckles just talking about Jerry.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's great. I mean,
hopefully we can get Grandma
yeah.
back in a good way, even though I think she's doing really, really well, all things considered.
Well, good. Yeah. Sorry to hear about that, but also,
Yeah.
you know,
It was tears of joy when he passed, actually.
yeah.
He's where he needs to be.
Yeah. Well, that's of course, Jenny has great people in her family. She's the one that holds you
Yep.
together, made sure that we could get this call happening. As I can tell, you're looking
And
great
you're
and
thinking I
fine.
couldn't? I wouldn't have been okay. Right.
I'm not doubting your understanding of the game of baseball, your understanding of history, but the understanding of electronics, that may not be your strong suit, but that's okay. You
Now,
can't.
let's move along here, okay? I'm sure
We can talk about golf next.
So we got John here, the ball coach. We appreciate that you're a part of this. And for those just tuning in, we got the great coach Rick Woolf hanging out with us, and we're so excited. He's my high school baseball coach, coach for a very long time. Was able to have 2 major leaguers come through, and some other pro ball, plenty of college guys, throughout his tenure at the Beaver Creek High School over in Ohio. And so really, I want to ask you, because there's countless things that we could talk about that we go, as you already know, he's a great storyteller. He's a funny guy. Every single person, there's not a single person who went through his class who didn't love it and enjoy it. He was not afraid to maybe get up on tables to scream and yell and get people fired up. He also realizes that my brother is a way better person than I am, and because he had my brother in class.
way better student, or way better person, or all the above?
It's probably a little bit of all the above.
let's move along here to the next question, Pat, if you don't want to.
But we got.
Don't want to humble you here.
No, it's okay. As Zap's been with me, anybody who listens know that I need to be humbled. It's great for me. But we're going to start off, my questions that I love, and we'll go through the coaching realm. What was the most difficult or hardest thing about coaching?
Obviously, the toughest thing, and it took place every year, was cut time. You have so many kids, especially at a school like Beaver Creek, where it's hugely big.
Yeah.
And you have I guess when I first started coaching, and I was out in a small country school, Jamestown, Ohio, just a little bit the other side of Xenia for you people lacking geography skills. But, there we would have, and we didn't have a freshman or reserve team. So for the most part, we would have some kids that we might have 30 kids coming out for what would amount to 18 spots.
Yeah.
And I always kept 18, even though I knew for the most part, there's no doubt I was semi sort of told, hey, you're the varsity coach, you're coaching to win. Where some ADs might tell you, don't be afraid to get, all your kids in there, get some playing time. Sort of keeps mom and dad happy.
Right.
Which I, to be honest, I didn't care about mom and dad. And, it sort of got to the point that near the end of my coaching career, it slowly crept down to, I would keep 13 kids on varsity. And of course, there would be a reserve team, or I think today they call it Reserve A and Reserve B, which is sort of the more modern name for freshmen, I think is how they do it today. And that was after I got out in 2009. But it was really no fun at all, especially if you had a kid in class who was let's just play make believe he was a Bat Masterson minus the baseball skills.
Yes.
So here's Bat I have in class, or let's say your brother John.
Let's do that.
And he was a star. He was the absolute star of my history class. Anyone I had that year, he was a star. And the kids just sort of, oops, but the right answer's coming because John's talking to me.
Right.
But anywho, let's play make believe. He came out for baseball, and I'm thinking, well, he's Bat's brother. Should I keep him? No, he's not that good, which might upset him a little bit. And I just sort of, and let me sort of call timeout. Back when I was in Jamestown, one of my cuts was a lady who taught in the room next door.
Oh,
and
man.
she was a women's softball coach, and we rode every away bus together. And I cut her son.
Ooh.
And at the same time, I'd say, you better be out for this team next year, or I'm gonna drag you out, and you're gonna make. And then I'd put my hand up like I'm calling timeout, and I wouldn't say the guy's name, but I'd say Marcus, which was his name, and his mom taught right next door. Softball coach, she didn't speak to me for the rest of the school year, and she cut kids.
Right.
So I never had any problem cutting teachers' kids. You know, I did it at Beaver Creek numerous times, but you know, it's just if you cut somebody you had in class, some kids would walk in, they give you that look. If looks could kill, I'd have been a dead man. And then others, hey, coach, thanks for the tryout. Others may not speak to you for a month, and then for whatever reason, they go back to talking with me again. But I even noticed I was a little crankier with my kids in class during cut week.
Yeah.
I think I may have been a little crankier with my 3 daughters at home during cut week.
I can see that.
In fact,
yeah.
If the truth be told, we used to have 5 daughters, but I cut 2 of them. That's a joke. That's a joke, okay?
I mean it is. It is a difficult thing, and it's hard. It's hard because I've been coaching now for 5 years at Fisher's, baseball, basketball. Not doing basketball anymore, but I've done both of them. And man, you come to that cut time, and sometimes it is hard because there are certain kids who they're not very good whatsoever, but they
couldn't catch a cold, let alone a fly ball.
Exactly. We had a kid, and Beaver Creek's a big school, Fisher's a big school. We've had some guys who literally they can't catch, they can't throw the ball from first to second base, and yet you cut them, and they're just like, what are you doing? I can't believe you would cut me. And much less parents. Honestly, I never talked to parents. Well, not too much really. So that's a head coach job for you to be able to do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure Zap, in summer ball, you have to cut some people too, right? Do you cut kids, or do you keep keep everybody?
Yeah, there's always tryouts for. I do travel baseball and coach in that crazy dynamic. And there is some cutting and things, or you don't make whatever. But I always struggle. Maybe this is something you could enlighten me on. But the guys that you can see a potential in them, but you mentioned, hey, come back and see me next tryout season. And then there's this thought, and whether they've actually voiced it or I'm voicing it for them in my head is, but how am I supposed to get better if I'm not on your team? I mean, you're the great coach. And I think like he's got some potential. I could work with him. I mean, it's a battle, but do you get that kind of feedback? Like, well, how am I supposed to get better, coach? What do you say to that kid?
Yeah, they would say that. How can I get better if I'm not on the team? And I say, well, there was summer baseball back then in Jamestown. This was back before, you had to play summer ball or you had to lift for football. It was back, I think, let's see, we'd be talking, I started out there 74 to 88. It was back, I'll say, almost in the good old days when, when baseball was over, get the football out. Football, get the basketball out. And there was none of this. I do not like the way high school sports and don't even get me going on college sports now with this NIL transfer portal nonsense. That's ridiculous.
Hey, I'm telling you, we might have to get you back on the show so that we can talk about some of this.
Get him in a better mood first.
This stuff that you're fired up about. So we'll keep you right. We'll keep it here in the baseball stuff. But I'm going to mark that down. And when it's time to have some discussions on that, I'm going to bring you back in here.
Let me get with my agent first. And then
did you guys do did you guys do the NIL deal? I mean,
follow up on cutting the kid.
That's right.
Marcus, my next door teacher's son, makes a team the following year. Last game of the year, we're playing the Southeastern Trojans, our heated rival for the league championship. Bottom of the 7th. We're down 2. You know where we're going with this story. And it's not going to be he struck out. No, he hit a 3-run homer with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. And, to this day, I still call him his nickname Slugger. And he's now a retired Dayton cop. Just a great kid. Classic example of, there wasn't a reserve or freshman team or whatever, but we were able to get him in a roundabout way. I guess he made me look like a fool for not keeping him the year before. But,
no, see,
that's fine with me.
You built adversity, and
motivation.
Yep, and it gave him something to work for in the off season, and so I guess maybe the stress is self-induced because in the end, like Justin says, like if they want to play and if they're good enough, they're gonna find somewhere to play. So it takes a little pressure off.
Now, how would the parents communicate? Because nowadays, we'll get emails from the parents. Like we get some emails of maybe kids we cut, and then mom will send an email and we'll highlight the stats of their kid in the summertime, maybe against the kids who are currently on the team. Actually, I had this in both. I've seen this in basketball and baseball. So literally, they'll tear down other kids who are currently on the team in order to, at an attempt to build up their son, all the while sending this to us. And it just, like, for me personally, I see that and I go, wow. Well, good thing we didn't have them on our team, because even if they were that good, we don't want that type of character. But how did parents, like, would they be able to come and like yell at you and scream at you and tell you you're a fool for cutting my kid? Like, did they even?
I probably had 4 or 5 say they were going to sue me.
Oh wow!
Okay.
And my response was, "Go ahead."
Yeah,
I'd love it. I'd love it. Not that it matters, but one of the few good things a teachers' union is good for. And I was not a big union boy, but I said, it's going to cost you a bunch of money, a lot more than it'll cost me, because as a teacher union member, coaches and teachers were covered in any type of law our lawyers are paid for. So to be honest, ma'am or sir, please sue me. And they would sort of hang their head and walk away. And I don't want to say you sort of enjoyed, depending on who they were.
I'm sure
it was sort of fun. And but at first, when Mom and Dad were still alive and living up in Springfield, and they've been gone now 31 years and 28 years. This would have been, oh gosh. Anywho, when I would do the cuts, I would, and I don't know how you guys do it with your cuts in summer ball and at Fisher's, but what I would do, I even think I did this at Beaver Creek. I'd had my list of players, and I would read the names off, and I says, now if your name doesn't show up here, you don't hear your name, you're not on the team this year. I would hope to see you out next year. There's, summer ball teams you can play on and so on and so forth. But I discovered early on, this would have been out in Jamestown, out in farm country. Great, great kids. I got to the point that Friday after school, I would go up and spend the weekend at Mom and Dad's in Springfield. Jenny would maybe go to her parents down in Hamilton. And we pretty much discovered by the time Monday morning rolled around, the kid survived Friday night and Saturday night and Sunday. Oh, okay. And maybe Mom and Dad had cooled down a little bit by that point. So, but it was just absolutely shoot. The worst part of the coaching was, obviously you lose some tough games and so on and so forth. But let me see, No, I was going to say I'd rather lose a tough game. No, but the cutting.
I'd rather.
Cutting part.
Well,
no, second.
Well, and so with that, and then that is tough, and it's tough because you care, like you do care about winning. Like I've seen, as playful and wonderful as you are, I've seen the intensity and fire that comes out of you, and frustration. When one of your players, you're talking about how we shouldn't be chewing tobacco, and one of your players right in front of you is chewing tobacco as you're talking about it, and then you ask this player.
He was my number one catcher.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
But we don't have to go into that.
Oh my gosh, I had a heart attack 4 years ago. I'm feeling another one coming on right now.
Oh, jeez.
This kid was a real good catcher.
He was a great catcher. Yes.
Yeah, and the following year when he was back on the team, bat would go 6, and then they'd switch positions. Bat would go behind the plate.
Yeah.
Mr. Tobacco Boy would go on the mound and basically smoke 9 straight fastballs in there, and
yes, he would.
We win.
Yes.
And I, at the same time, in my defense, I couldn't tell you how many parents on the team and other sports parents sent me emails saying, Coach, great job with noticing him having tobacco and making him pay the consequences for it. And I can remember in practice, I think maybe he stuck around a little bit. He was behind, and I noticed him there. I don't know if I said something, get out of here, tobacco head. No, I'm sure I didn't say that. But he said, Coach, he said, and I won't mention his name. He said, Coach, he said, the football coach, we all chewed on the football team. Mm-hmm. He knew it, and he didn't do a thing. He says, why do you have to be the one that's kicking me off? He said, my parents told me if apparently he'd had some other issue, I don't know. He said, but my parents told me if I got caught chewing tobacco again, I was done with high school sports at Beaver Creek.
Oh.
And I said, well, I hear we have a good intramural program.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
And
it wasn't too bad.
So here was our super stud catcher.
Yeah.
And I'm not, well, let's just say we would have had even though we had a good season.
We did.
It would have been much better.
Absolutely. No, that's true. But that takes me into you weren't just trying to, like, you love winning, but you weren't just always trying to win. You were an incredible man of character who also wanted to instill that in the people that you coached. And now that leads to my next question. What was the best thing about coaching?
Now, seriously,
talking
with
right.
Seeing those wins and losses in different people.
Yeah.
Last Saturday night was another great coaching memory for me. A former student / baseball player out at Jamestown at Greenview High School. He retired as the fire chief out in Jamestown. And they had a celebratory thing out at Jasper Hills. It's a new golf course. I don't know if you remember Sebastian Hills when you were around town, Bat. New name, great course, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, they had the party there. Saw a bunch of players and former students I hadn't seen in, well, some of them close to 50 years. I had seen Eddie Harper is a kid's name. He's a starter out there at the course, the old starter, free golf, that type of thing. But I have heard of, what's it called? Maybe the last call. The dispatcher makes a call.
Oh, yeah.
To fire chief Eddie Harper, and they managed to get everybody quiet. And I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking of it. And I don't know how you could go from a bunch of freshman idiots in history class that are hanging off the ceilings, and boom, when a couple guys held their hands up and it just went quiet. And then you hear, this is a dispatcher who also happened to be a former student of mine, had this young lady in class who's not that young anymore. But anyhow, Eddie is standing maybe 10 foot away from me. They hand the phone, and they had the phone up on speakerphone so you could hear what she was saying. And Chief, this is dispatcher. This is the final call for you. And as soon as he's just the way things lined up, he was looking right over my way, and those tears just came. And at that time, I turned to his twin brother because the tears just right down my face. I'm not saying that's better than most of the wins I had, but it was. So talking with you today, Eddie Harper, is, boy, this sounds tacky to say, and I hope doesn't come out the wrong way here, but I couldn't tell you how many different funerals and viewings I've been to in 35 years of teaching. Of course, it doesn't stop when I retired.
Right.
Here 2 weeks ago, I was out in Jamestown for an old Greenview kid who had a heart attack at 60, passed away. The services were there. So being a coach and a teacher, it's a full-time job. I guess I do have a nice little pension, But those parts, I guess, mean that's the most important part.
Well, it's like
and that's all developed through having a good relation with your players, and I think you guys knew I'm fine with fun, but we're going to do things the right way.
Yeah.
It used to always bother me, and I think myself and the coach at Kenton Ridge were the only, and he was a fraternity brother of mine down at Moorhead, Matt. Great guy. Had 5 or 6 guys make it in the big leagues. But at least here in Ohio, and now they've thrown it out, you can basically have baseball practice any time of the year. But back when I was coaching, I want to say maybe President's Day, pitchers and catchers, they get a 2-week start on everybody else. And then you could get your pitching machine out. And every other coach, every other school, and it bothered me that we play by the rules. Oh, and you'd have, I don't know who's a pitcher and a catcher.
Everybody is.
Exactly. And I just shake my head at him, and I don't know if my coaching friends thought I was a goody-goody, but I just thought there's something to be said for doing things the right way, and setting a great example for your teams, and that was one of my little pet peeves. There was the coaches not playing by the rules.
Well,
sorry to break in there, but
no, you had 2 things there. But the first one was talking about going and visiting all these guys, and sometimes it's at the funerals or the things you don't want to be at. But it's like a burden that you were mentioning. It's such a positive experience when you have those life experiences, whether it's a positive change in that person, or you're just winning ball games and enjoying to get to know people and just having relationships. But see, if you don't have that relationship, it wouldn't be such a con and a negative on the hard part, because you wouldn't have that depth. So I can already tell, not even being under you, that you're like, hey, this isn't just winning games at all costs. And me and Justin talk about this, 10-year-olds coaches are winning games at all costs, which is just, ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
But even at your competitive level, you can justify it at high school. Hey, we got to win. We got to get to state. You know what? Let's get that kid, the tobacco kid, let's get him a pouch. Let's get him something that can get him by right before the game, so we can make sure he plays, or let's hide it for him. It's like, you're like, no, there's one way. I always joke about this, because it's like, there's not one way, but there's one way to play baseball, and it's the right way. And that's it. So I like it.
That's great. Which makes me,
oh, I remember now. Let me interrupt now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you remember the game down at Fairfield where we had our special pick play at second?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. When you were pitching AAA for whoever over in Columbus.
Yes.
And I yelled out, "Go crazy, Creek!"
Yes.
You remember that? That was our pick play.
And you picked
for the old play where there's a kid on second, the pitcher turns, doesn't throw, the shortstop and the second baseman dive in the dirt, center outfielders start running for the pretend ball that's not there. I'm sure you know the pick play, Matt, that I'm talking about. Yeah,
awesome.
Worked a million times. So here we are. We're playing Fairfield, which is a Cincinnati team, and Dayton teams are not supposed to beat Cincinnati teams. Fairfield had won a couple of state championships, so on and so forth. We're down there Saturday. We're up, I think maybe 1.
Yeah.
Bottom of the 7th. They have they put a runner in at second. The best thing for us was he was a Spanish-speaking kid.
Nice.
He was a foreign exchange student. So, of course, part of the deal is when you make that fake throw, everybody is yelling, 3, 3, 3. You get the ball, throw it to third, because the guy's going to break for third. We knew that, I don't know how we knew, maybe they were just, hey, Jose, make a run or whatever. But anywho, so I'm thinking, hey. So I went out to the mound. I says, guys, you know how we yell 3, 3, 3? Yell trace.
Yeah.
Uno, dos, tres. So we yelled trace. Our buddy Jose fell for it.
He went.
Bat tags him out for the third out in the bottom of the seventh, and the Dayton team beat a Cincinnati team, and you'd thought we'd won the World Series or something. Maybe that's not quite. I don't know if that would start an international incident, but if it would have been worth it. By gosh!
Oh yes, it was.
That's awesome.
It was.
My bad for interrupting.
No, I've seen a few people try and attempt that play, and I'm like, man, been doing that 20 years ago. And it did. You'd go crazy creek. You'd spin around, fake the throw, and then start running towards second base. And that runner, he'd just get off of there, just boom, easy tag, you're out. It was perfect. But so as we kind of put a bow tie on all this and kind of wrap up our time, and we're thankful that you've been here with us and sharing your stories and stuff. And of course, we'll have to have you on another time. But But since now you know how to use the iPad and be able to communicate with us, so we're in a good spot. But we won't go there. But
okay, good.
What we've heard, the tough part, which is always the cuts, and because you care so much about the kids, it's difficult whether you know they're bad or not. It's still hard when you crush somebody's dream in a short bit, but you also know it's better for them. And then the great thing of the people. I mean, the players that you've coached and been around, and being able to spend time like this and see the success of the guys, and unfortunately some of the deaths of some of the individuals that you've had in your life, but just the really cool things and knowing what you had an impact in the life of guys. Like, you always brought the team over to your house, and we'd be playing in your backyard, shooting some baskets and seeing your family and stuff like that. It was always a great time. But what advice would you give either to your younger self or to somebody coming up, or whatever it is? What's the piece of advice that you like to give out?
If I had it to do over, and I know as varsity we're supposed to win, and I love to win.
Mm-hmm.
If I had it to do all over, those Saturday doubleheaders, I would have played the extra kids and taken the loss. They chased foul balls for me.
Yeah.
And I just felt sorry for them. At the same time, I modeled myself after my high school baseball coach, Gary Smittle. Still alive and well. We occasionally play golf, and he whoops me. I'm 72. I think he's close to 80, actually.
Okay.
And so we get together every other summer or so. But my memory's fading here. But I sort of modeled myself after him as a coach and as a teacher. But gosh, what the heck? Help me out here.
Yeah, but it's hard because you didn't play those kids on
second play. Oh, okay. Here you be. Now, at Northeastern High School, home of the Jets up in Springfield, I started. My senior year was my first year to start. I was on the varsity sophomore year, junior year. I was one of those guys, looking back on it, I should have been playing reserve ball, so I could have, got in hacks and all that stuff. And I played summer ball and so on and so forth. But here's a little bit of a story where I don't want to say that I hit 500 my junior year.
Okay, I wouldn't want you to say that.
Well, so I won't, but let me finish. I would have hit 1,000 if the coach didn't put me in the last game and I struck out. I was 1 for 2 that year. Hit 500. And looking back on it, I wasn't worthy of playing. We had 4 kids that end up playing D1 baseball. Looking back, I would have taken a loss or 10.
Yeah.
With as many doubleheaders we played over 31 years ago, I would have lost more than 10 games. Just because there were very few coaches that played.
Yeah.
And Randall and I up at Kenton Ridge, we always had a deal that we would start some of our extra kids. It was the only coach that would do it. And we both put our extra kids in there and play. And if he won, fine. If I won, fine. That was the way it should have been all the way through 31 years of coaching, actually.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
So if I had to do all over, I would have had, and I think I can especially say that with all the foul balls I chased in 10th and 11th grade.
Right. No, it's interesting because that is something that we, for our staff, talk about often when we get to our Saturday doubleheaders, and whether or not, we give those starters a chance to, keep building up their stats and build confidence, or allow these other guys to get in there and in one sense teaches your starters how you can encourage and be a good teammate, which they may already be, or maybe they're not. And this will.
And maybe in a school as big as yours with a reputation, some of those kids have been starting since they were sophomores, and they ain't chased a foul ball in their life.
You're not lying.
Here they are as a senior. Put them on the foul ball. Okay.
Yeah. Don't worry.
We're going alphabetical order.
I'm going to highlight this to Coach Cherry.
Here, you're smart enough to know the alphabet.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
Alan Adams, Bobby Bradenton, or something like that, and all the way down to
Zappasodi.
Yeah. Okay. So
I know my place.
Kids, or maybe the first time, I definitely would do it differently.
Yeah.
The second time around.
Well, that makes sense. I can appreciate that and see that, and again, it continues to teach where it's like, yeah, we're winning and still going to do some great things, but still showing that we appreciate those, not just the ones at the top, but those who are alongside of us and building us up. So
and I guess maybe as much as I apparently I have a good reputation with other coaches, I think it would have been even better if I would have played my other kids the second game of the doubleheader, and maybe some of the other Coach Woolf does it. That's sort of neat. And maybe the next time, 4 or 5 other coaches are doing it that year, and the following year, everybody in the league is doing it on the second game on Saturday, and letting the true varsity kids chase the foul balls.
Yeah.
So
true. Well,
words of wisdom, which are rare coming from me at this stage.
I mean, it took us an hour, but we got there.
Every once in a while, we'll get this.
I'd sit here for another 10 years if we could.
I know that's why
I have to bring a heart machine in for me, but
hey, that's quite all right. At least it's healthy now. But I'll just say this as we wrap things up. Just thankful for having you on. Thanks for being here. We're gonna again, like I said, we'll definitely get you back around. I do this because I like doing it, not because anybody really watches or that it's good. It's just fun to talk to my people. And, sometimes you get a it's all part of it moment, like this morning when my wife was listening to one of my podcasts, because she was trying to find something to listen to. And she was like, I already heard your story. It's about somebody stealing my tube. I already heard the story. You took forever to tell the story. I couldn't even pay attention and listen. I'm like, cool, babe. Love you too. I guess it's just, it's all part of it. It's not for everybody, but it is for somebody. We did have, my mom was telling me about another lady who was listening who, somehow my mom had to re-listen and go like, I didn't hear what she heard, but she was crying, and somehow the Lord spoke to her and just encouraged her in ways that we can't even make this stuff up. So it's just fun for us. So I'm glad you're here. Appreciate it. But our outro goes on behalf of Matthew Zappasodi, our sponsors, Fair Warrior, which we just had a kickoff not too long ago, had a nice golf outing, and Wayfinders, trying to help people activate their purpose, and the great Coach Rick Woolf. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Matt, nice to meet you.
You as well.